loves, hello. Do you know what time it is? It is time for my April wrap up. I'm going on Goodreads on my iPad, that's why this is happening. It is a little far into May, to be honest. At this point, it's what, the 9th? It's honestly so weird when I do like wrap-ups and I'm like, wow, that's the first thing I read this month, because I don't even remember that anymore. That happened a while ago. Anyway, let's begin. Don't mind I have like crap all over the place in the background. I'm trying to attempt to think about attempting to pack. So anyway, moving on, let's just get started. So the first thing I read this month was this comic called Man-Eaters the Cursed. I originally got this just because I love this cover. I knew nothing about it, but it's just a short little comic, and it's basically about this girl who like goes to this camp that she used to go to when she was a kid, and she's like the favorite camper there, so she gets all this special treatment, but then like really spooky stuff starts happening. But that's kind of where the comic ends. Like, it leaves you kind of on the edge of what's gonna happen for the rest of the story. So it was all right. It was nothing real special to me. I ended up giving it 3 stars. All right, next. Okay, so the next thing I read, I actually listened to this on audio, but I read When No One Is Watching. It's kind of a thriller. I think that's kind of a reach, to be honest, but it basically like centers this girl Sydney, who is like getting out of a shitty relationship. She moves back in with her mom into Brooklyn, and it's basically just unraveling the gentrification happening in this neighborhood, and how our main character is kind of seeing how it's changed and is still changing so much since she lived there when she was younger. But it doesn't really pick up until like a thriller sort of momentum until the end. I feel like it kind of goes 0 to 100 real quick. And it was all right. I liked the main character. There was another like side character that she had a romance with that I was like, don't really see the relevance of him at all, but it definitely got me intrigued towards the end when the thriller part really amped up. But it was very slow for me. The pacing was not my favorite, so I just ended up giving this 3 stars. Yeah, 3 stars. Honestly, April wasn't that great of a reading month. I'm gonna be honest. Like, it was just kind of mediocre, you know? The next one we have might be one of my favorites from this month, which is The Perks of Loving a Wallflower. This was cute. This was fun. I had a little bit of higher expectations for this book, so when I was going into it, I was like, I don't know, I was expecting like the most. And definitely didn't disappoint me. Like, it was fun for sure. It basically follows these 2 girls in the year, hold on, I'll get there, 1817 in England. And it follows like this one girl who's of like high society, and her whole life basically revolves around her mom wanting to get her married off to someone with like a high societal title, so that they'll like, I don't know, be more popular, I don't know. And she also runs like this sort of book club, and yeah, she's cool, but she doesn't really like, she doesn't aspire for what her mom wants from her. She's like, I'll get married, but like just to make other people happy type beat. And then it follows this other girl who kind of lives this totally different, unconventional life, where she was an orphan, and then she ends up like having all these siblings. It's like this found family, and this family is like kind of like the troublemakers of the city. Like, they get shit done, they investigate things for people, they get into disguises, and they all have like their roles in the family. And so the girl in this family, basically she has a crush on the other girl, and her siblings are all just like, go for it, do it, whatever. So she essentially goes into disguise as a man to pose as a potential suitor for this other girl, and it kind of just takes off from there. And honestly, it's really fun. I feel like it's not as realistic, like, for sure, but it's really fun just because it's like there's this secret thing happening, and it really explores like whether or not the main girl, Philippa, who's in like the higher class, like whether or not she will like kind of risk it all for this girl that she likes instead of, you know, abiding by her family's wishes. So it was pretty fun. I gotta say, it was pretty fun. I gave it 3.5 stars. I rounded it up to 4. Okay, the next thing I read this month was last month, oops, I read The Outsiders. So I guess I'm kind of doing pretty decent with like reading some more classics every month. It's really just about like a bunch of boys who live in like poverty, and then, you know, there's almost like these gangs, if you will, and that's all of it. That's what it is. But yeah, I mean, you follow this main boy who like his parents died, so he has 2 older brothers, one that he's like not so close with and one that he's closer with, and then obviously there's like this gang of boys, so, you know, it's kind of like found family, like they're all kind of brothers in a way. I wasn't like super attached to what was happening, but I definitely was still intrigued and following along and like wanting to know what would happen. I gave this 3.5 stars, rounded it down to 3. I think it was pretty solid. I also feel like this is a great, easy classic, and it has such like simple lessons that I feel like every good classic usually has. So I thought this was pretty good. I really liked the themes of like friendship and poverty and class and all of that. Okay, the next book I read this month was The Death of Vivek Oji, and I feel like I have really mixed feelings on this, and also like such an unpopular opinion. Like, I feel like I am in the minority here, because it's not that I didn't like this book, but I did not like it as much as I thought I would. I went into this thinking it was just gonna be like, I don't know, like I thought it was gonna make me cry. I thought it was gonna make me cry. Definitely didn't. And it's definitely not that it's not a sad book, but it's a lot to ingest. You're kind of like, I mean, you obviously know Vivek is going to die, so you kind of like start off following members of his family at first, and it kind of goes into Vivek's like mindset, but I feel like my biggest problem with it was that we didn't get enough of Vivek's mindset, because those were my favorite parts, was hearing from him, and I just feel like because of the lack of that, it didn't hold as much weight for me. I feel like the writing was pretty good, but I also do feel like there were a lot of moments and elements that faded into the background for me. Like I wanted a little more out of this, and like everyone has like rated this 5 stars, and I don't see it. I don't see it. Another thing that I found distracting, if you will, was there's a relationship in this book that is extremely unconventional, and I did a lot of research into why the author chose to tell this story, because I was really curious as to why the choice was made for this relationship to be present. And after like reading some of what the author has said, and also she did like an interview that I watched, I hear her like I see it, and I do think like it's tricky to talk about, because it's I don't want to like spoil it. I don't want to spoil it. It's just like a family member dating a family member, basically, or less dating, more just like falling in love and being intimate. But it was handled interestingly, but it definitely just, it took me out of it a little, and I genuinely really tried to see too from this author's perspective of why they made this choice, and I don't condemn them for making this choice. I mean, a story is a story, whether it makes you uncomfortable or not. It's someone's story, so whatever, like I'm not mad about it. It just definitely it took me out of it for a second, for sure. And I feel like the mysterious aspect of it wasn't like completely there for me. And then like the actual sort of resolution, or like what you find out in the end, just like it was really anticlimactic for me. I was just a little disappointed. It's a 3-star for me. Wasn't my absolute fave. I feel like the writing definitely did shine through a lot though. I feel like that's definitely one of the best things about the book, but I don't know, I just wasn't super invested. I will say it was really interesting to follow this what's the word, to follow this community, because it's set in Nigeria, and so it really follows like Vivek's family, but also like their neighbors and his, you know, kind of extended family. And it was really cool to see that, because I don't think I've ever read a book set in Nigeria, so I totally feel like I got a little taste of what it's like to be like in that culture, in that land, and just how family is like there, and how like the public is like there. Like they go out to like a market a few times in this book, and they, you know, they talk a lot with neighbors and friends and all of that. So it very much is like very community based, which I did like. I feel like I learned a lot about this community through this book. The next thing I read was The Girl in 6E, which is an audiobook I listened to. Now I was so excited for this because I have been on the hunt for more like good for her energy books, you know, because honestly it's my favorite genre. So yeah, as soon as I heard about this book, I knew I had to read it. And it's basically about this girl who lives in this apartment 6E, and she's pretty young. I think she's like 22, and she keeps herself locked in her apartment because she has the urge to kill, but she doesn't want to. Like she's like, well, she does want to, but she's like, you know, I don't want to be a bad person. So she has like one of her neighbors, like she has a little deal with him, and he locks her in at night because at night the urges are like more present, and she just keeps herself in her apartment, and because of that she's a cam girl. And it is very interesting, very interesting, very fun, like just such a unique concept, you know? So there are 3 books in this series. I'm currently reading the second one actually, but yeah, this one was great. I mean, I really liked it. I really liked too that like she was like fighting this instinct of hers, but she almost got to explore it, because eventually she does sort of, you know, after a while she wants to feed into her impulses, and so she kind of does, but she almost like finds a way to make it justifiable and to make it feel okay and acceptable and like not like a bad thing. Kind of like Dexter energy, like the concept of like, oh well, if I'm killing bad people, maybe it's like not that big of a deal. So it's the same thing with like in They Never Learn, where she's killing bad people, so you're like slightly rooting for her. So I really liked it. I don't know if it was like, you know, the best written book ever or whatever. I just had a good ass time. I thought it was fun, and I gave it 4.5 stars. I rounded it down to 4. Okay, so the last book I read this month, you're not gonna even want me to get started on this. So I'm gonna be honest, literally every book I read before this one was me avoiding reading this one. So basically the last book I read this month was, so I read Killing Eve, Codename Villanelle. Okay, so if you don't know about this book or about Killing Eve, it's a show, and it stars, you know, these 2 gals, Sandra Oh, Jodie Comer, and I watched the show before I read the books, but then I found out there were books, and I was like, okay, obviously I'm going to read them. So I decided that I was gonna read these after the series finale, which like just happened pretty recently, like a month-ish ago. And then it happened, and I was just like not doing well. Like, you know, when one of your like favorite shows and it ends horribly, and you're suffering. Yeah. So anyway, it took me a while to get to this because I was like, I don't want to do it. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. Don't make me do it. But eventually my brain did make me do it. So basically Killing Eve is about it's about Eve, who is like a MI6 like employee. She's a spy, okay? Eve's a spy. And then Villanelle, who is an assassin. And so basically in the start of the story, Eve is like, I think there's a female assassin running around. Like, her spidey senses started tingling, okay? And she's correct. She's not wrong. And what's really fun is that like both these women are like very, they're unhinged at the same exact like energy level, but you witness it in like these two different ways of like this obsession that they both start to kind of form with one another, and like this chase to catch one another. And so it's literally fucking brilliant. But I'm not even talking about the book right now. I haven't even got there. Anyway, so there are 3 books in the series. I'm currently reading the second one, and this one was mid, okay? It was not good. I'm trying to be nice. It wasn't bad, but it also like wasn't good. Here's the thing, like I feel like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who created the first season of Killing Eve, did a magnificent job of turning a little bit of a shitty book into something so fucking brilliant. I'll give this author credit. I mean, he came up with this idea, and the root of the show and the idea, the concept is really good in the first book. Like the whole story and world building of like what's happening here, definitely it's happening for sure. I'll say what's fun about the book is that you do really get like it's different from TV, you know, you get this sort of backstory beforehand, whereas like the show kind of introduces you and throws you right into what's happening right away. But here, you know, you meet the characters, you get to know them a little before the story really sets off, and you follow Villanelle on like some of her first kills that we get to witness, and how like she's working for this company, and how Eve first discovers her and then is first like going after her. It was fun in that sense. Like it was really fun to like be back in this world, and like the beginning of the world as well. Like the beginning of this story is like super fun, super fascinating. Like season 1 of Killing Eve is one of their best. Like, oh my god, incredible television. I just didn't love the writing at all, really. I feel like my problem with it was that it just explained so much that didn't have to be explained, and that made it really slow at points. And I totally understand that you would want to elaborate on these things as an author, but you know, sometimes like I don't need to know everything. Like I'll figure it out, like context clues. I just feel like there was a lot that was just elaborated on that was unnecessary, and I was just like waiting for like more interesting moments to happen. It was solid, it was fine. I had a decent time. I gave it 3 stars. I'm being pretty generous. That was a generous 3 stars. I feel like, you know, it's somewhere between 2 and 3 because I feel like the creation of the story in and of itself is worthy of the 3 stars. Like the fact that these characters were just invented and I'm just seeing them, and this is how they were first introduced to the world, was really cool to see how they decided to do that. So I still had a really good time. It was really fun to like see little things that I could tell influenced the show. I also I tabbed it a bunch, and I like made a little key for myself because I'm absolutely ridiculous. So like I have one for each character, one for their relationship, one for like things that I see in the show. It was also really cool to see the differences in the choices they made when it came to the book and the show. It was fun. Obviously, like it was good enough for me to like keep reading. I'm gonna read the entire trilogy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's everything I've read in April. It was like an okay month. It was okay. I'm not mad about it, but I definitely want to step up my game this month. Like I want to read like some favorites, like some new favorites this month. That's my goal. I am still glad I got around to reading like a good few that I've wanted to read for a while. Like I've wanted to read this and The Death of Vivek Oji for a while. I also wanted to read The Outsiders, and I really wanted to read The Perks of Loving a Wallflower for a long time. So I still got like a decent chunk off of my TBR, so I'm happy about it. That is everything I read. Let me know what you read this month and if you read any of these books and what you thought. But yes, anyway, that is all for today. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.